Welcome to the Tattoo Marketing Podcast. On this week's episode, we are talking to Ocean, an artist from Vallejo, California that specializes in large-scale black and gray pieces. We talk about the tattoo economy and its downturn over the last 2 years, how he manages to stay booked out for months and his client retention, the perks of niching down into a certain style, and his creative process, plus more. So, great episode. Enjoy. Hey, really quick before we get into the podcast, if you could do us a giant favor and leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening to this on, it's absolutely huge for us and also helps other artists and shop owners find this podcast. We really appreciate it. Enjoy. Good, man. Good. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously great to hear. There's like so many shops and artists we talk to are like in the starving artist kind of phase, like everywhere across the country. So,
well, what's funny to me is like a lot of the cats that are, like I'll hear people be like, oh yeah, so I'm thinking about running this deal or that deal. And I'm like, bro, like don't like undercut yourself, like, cause once the clients start, they start seeing that you're hurting and stuff, then they're like, oh shit, I just got to wait till he's hurting to get the price I want.
Yeah. That's one of the rough things about discounts, man, is that's exactly what people will do. Or like if your shop runs a ton of like flash events, it's a good way to get people in, but then people will also just kind of wait for the next flash deal.
Yeah, and that's why like when I do like when I do my wanna do designs, like I definitely I definitely have them at like a discounted price, but like I make sure it's worth what I want for my day. Like, and I tell people like if you're going to put stuff out like that, like you got to know how much do you want to make in a day? Like what is a day worth to you? And price it at that, like if it, if you're cool with like making $500 in a day, price your shit at $500, but make sure it's not like some like crazy ass fucking big piece that you would normally charge like $3,000 for,
Yeah.
And charge $500, like, make it still reasonable for yourself and, make sure you're getting paid what you want.
Yeah, and it seems like there's been a lot of places that it's been like a race to the bottom. I was actually just talking to a shop owner in Idaho, and he's like, there's shops in our town that are offering $30 minimums. Like, that's nuts. That can't even be worth the time, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's not even, that doesn't even cover the amount of therapy you're going to have to pay for to fucking deal with that stress.
100%. Yeah.
Don't even cover that shit.
No. Yeah, that's another part of it is like not only are you kind of wasting your time to try to get anything, but typically the people that want a $30 tattoo, you don't want as a client. They're a lot. It's always the ones that have like the least amount that want like the most custom. Like people give you like $6,000 and be like, you're the artist, like do it. Or people be like with $30, like, okay, I want this, and this, and this isn't right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that whole thing. Like people that get like small tattoos are like the pickiest. Like, like I'll do like a half sleeve on somebody, and like I'll like position it. They're just like, okay, cool. But like you do like put a small tattoo on somebody. You're like, can you move it just like an inch? Can you make it like a little bit smaller? Can you rotate it? Oh, I want to be able to see it. Can you put it upside down? Like that's those clients. This shit. Clients and big stuff. They're like, yeah, whatever, dude. Just put it on my body and let's go.
Yeah, and I see it, I would say across all industries. So I had a marketing company that worked with window replacement businesses years ago. And when we would get people spending, $2,500 for a window replacement company isn't a lot. They would want all these phone calls and meetings. And then we had a few huge companies. One was spending over $250,000 a month with us. And they wouldn't even show up to their monthly meetings. Like, they didn't give a shit. They're like, you're the pros. Do what you want.
Do your shit.
Yeah.
We're doing our thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we hired you for a reason. We don't want to babysit you. It's same thing with tattoo artists. Like, you hire them, let them, especially like with you have a very specific style. If like, you go to like someone like yourself for that style and because you're an expert in that style. So,
yeah. And like, I remember like years ago, like I had this, it was a tattoo shop and barber shop. And like, I remember like I would listen to the difference between like tattoo artists and the barbers would talk. And a lot of the barbers, like, I mean, they just, it gets slow and they just start talking about money. Money. And I remember telling them, I'm like, dude, like, you guys got to stop thinking of, it's like when shit gets slow, like stop talking about money and the money you don't have, the money you wish you had and stuff. Instead, focus on your craft, because that's what makes you money. You got to think about, so you got to think about the things that make you money. And like, so like, I think for me now, like when, like, I mean, if I start seeing like things start slowing down, like I'm not thinking about money. I'm thinking about, okay, what designs can I pump out there, like that I know sell, and what ways can I market myself even, because those are the things that generate me money. Yeah. If you sit there and just bitch about fucking money, you're just going to sit there and bitch about money.
Yeah.
Like it's not productive and shit, and like, especially like the marketing thing, like I'll go sit and fucking, there's this one like podcast, like there's like ex Google employees and shit that like talk about like SEO stuff. It's super nerd, stuff, but they go like deep dive into like SEO stuff and whatnot. And like, I'll listen to that and I don't understand half of it, but like, I'm trying to like think of ways like, okay, like how do I, generate income instead of sitting there and just being like, oh yeah, it's slow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. There's a million different ways to get new clients or to reach out to past clients. But almost everybody waits until it's slow to start thinking about, and like, that's the last time you want to be thinking about when you need it right now. Like, yeah, you should be thinking about it. Like, people want to wait until like after tax season to start thinking about money. It's like, dude, no, gather as much as you can and get that momentum going and have it carry you as far as it will go.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I mean, even like, like I used to, like this like weird like tattoo economic downturn thing. Like I saw indicators of it back in August or July of last year. And like, I remember I was at the Hunts Vegas convention, and I was like telling cats, I was all like, yo, like, I think a storm's coming and it's going to be fucking ugly. It's like, like I pay attention to a lot of like stuff with the economy and whatnot, just because like, it's just the stuff I geek out on. And so I started seeing like, it was hitting everywhere. I mean, construction companies slowing down and stuff, like, layoffs were happening and shit. Or like, like companies were just like keeping guys on, but like they were, they didn't have work for them, but they didn't want them to like, like just totally fall off. So they're just like paying them to stay around and stuff. Like I started seeing a lot of that starting happening like last year in July, August, around that time. I told guys like, dude, it's gonna get better. They're like, oh no, it's just like a little hiccup, and I'm like, all right, yeah, good luck, and I mean, shoot, I was busy when I started, hiring you guys and stuff, just because like I was like, yo, like I just want to get ahead of shit, and a lot of it too was like I wanted to get the clients that I want to tattoo. Like, I mean, I could go through my email and DMs and grab a bunch of like clients that are like, that will pay a good dollar, but like it's not going to be stuff I want to do. So like, I was like, kind of like I said, just stay ahead of things, but also like, not just like stay ahead, but to like also get ahead in what I want to do.
Definitely. Yeah. It's cool that you've gotten to the spot where you get to actually pick and choose what you want. 'Cause there's not a lot of shops and artists right now that are able to do that. And like with the past client list stuff, like, and that's something that's always great to save too for when it does, or if it does eventually get slow, you have that in your back pocket. So there's no stress about money or anything like that.
Dude, I got my like MailChimp mailing list, like, and like, I mean, I kind of go through that, and like, I've got it, I've got tags for different groups of people, like depending on where they're at. And, but also too, like I've got, like my regulars, here, that do jump on like designs that I do and stuff. And so like, if I get really like, if it like, I haven't had to do it yet, but if I get really in a pinch, I'm just going to shoot them emails. Yeah. And shit. And I'm just going to bombard them with shit that I don't post on Instagram and stuff, and be like, all right, like you guys get the first hack. And they love it, cause they're like, oh yeah, like not everybody's going to see this.
They get the first dibs on it. Yeah. People like that stuff, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got clients like that and stuff. And so I've got, like I said, that's like my little like secret weapon. Like I keep that shit tucked aside. Haven't had to use it yet, but like it's there.
Yeah. Like I said, man, having that at least in your back pocket, because, a lot of shops did get used to, and tattoo artists got used to that 2022 money when people just had this influx of extra cash, and all these artists jumped into the industry, or new artists jumped into the industry and have these amazing years. And it's like you said, you pay attention to the economy, like it's always going to level out. It's always going to level out. Like, it's not like it was going to keep going like that. And so now we're kind of seeing it, like, same thing with the body. Like, there's homeostasis. Like, if it goes up, it's got to go down before it goes back to normal. And that's kind of where we're at this point.
And I mean, even like right now, like I've been hearing a lot of guys saying that things have been picking up, and I'm like, oh, like, is it like cool shit? Like, is it like whatever stuff? And they're like, oh, it's just kind of like shit to pay the bills, So it's like either I noticed a lot of artists are starting to get to that point where, like, they're making decent money again, but they're not even doing what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And shit, and it's, I mean, I understand that it's, you do have to kind of bend over sometimes to fucking get paid, what you need to get paid. But, like, you don't have to do that if you plan ahead, I guess, Yeah. And like I said, just have those rainy day things, or like those even having those clients that, you can just like hit up and be like, yo, dude, like, like, what's up? You want to get some shit?
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, even just the stress relief of knowing you have that in your back pocket, because nothing's worse than wondering, like, okay, how am I going to pay the bills this month, or what's going on? And tattoo artists aren't always known for being the best with money, so
no, hell no. No, it's funny because I was telling my girlfriend the other day that, like, one of the problems of being a tattooer is I get paid every day and shit. So, like, when I was an alcoholic, it was just like, it's all like, oh shit, I've already got my rent paid, and I made like $600 a day. Like, I can get drunk. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go blow fucking like almost $400 in a fucking night and shit, and like not really care because, like, the next day I was like, oh yeah, I got $1,000 appointment tomorrow and shit. I'm good.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough when you get paid every day, and again, that's how most tattoo artists are, is like, well, I'm just going to make X amount of money tomorrow, like, so I can spend whatever today. So yeah, at least having a backup, or if that's how you are with money, and then all of a sudden the money starts to dry up, knowing that you at least have a fallback, a safety net of a customer list, which, man, honestly, a lot of shops don't have, a lot of individual artists don't have. Like, you are a rarity that you use MailChimp. Like, there's not many shops that do it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good platform. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was doing a monthly I was doing a monthly newsletter, through like a portion of last year. And, like, I mean, honestly, like, I mean, it's cool because it tells you how many people opened it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the average time people spent, like, reading the thing, if they clicked on any of the external links that were in the newsletter. So, like, like, in my newsletter, I'd have, like, like, if you want to book an appointment, click here. So I could tell how many people were doing all that. And, even if the interaction wasn't that high, there was still something that came out of it, and, putting together the newsletter, it took me like an hour and a half, like, cause I try to include some of my insight into, like, how I do my design work and my thoughts on tattooing and whatnot. And, I would even, like, break down certain tattoos that I had done during the month that I thought, like, were, like, really, really interesting and whatnot, and how my client interaction was on that, so that it was just kind of like an honest window into, like, what goes on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for, like, my clients, so that they could understand, like, what I'm doing. And, like I said, like, it took like an hour and a half to put each one together a month, and I would get at least like 2 appointments. And I mean, 2 appointments would probably, I mean, on a monetary value, it would, I don't know, probably like at least like $2,000 in work. So yeah, I mean, that was totally worth it. I mean, fuck, hour and a half of, typing up some shit and sending it out, and I made $2,000 off it. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Like, not mad about that.
Do you have it? So how we have it set up is we have, I think it's either like a year's worth of newsletters, but how essentially it happens is when somebody opts in, they start getting it, but it starts from like email 1 and then goes to email 2. So after you have them written, like let's say you wrote 12, then for the next person that comes in, they already have a year's worth of emails they're going to get, and you don't have to spend the time doing it again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I've seen that option to where you can like basically like you can have like a bunch of drafts and then schedule out when they go out. Is that what you're talking? Yeah. So like I don't do that because I have a 5-year-old.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. So that hour and I get to do that.
Yeah.
Is like like it kind of was like hard to get.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. My kid's he'll be 14 this year, so it's a little easier. He can more or less take care of himself. I just have to drive him to sports literally every day. It'd be worse.
Yeah. But like I say, getting that hour and a half to do the newsletter was kind of hard sometimes too, because so I had design work, I had travel stuff that I had to like get together, and then I'm pretty meticulous about how I manage my money and like how I like move things around and stuff. So it's like all that shit just takes a ton of time. Definitely. And so but like I said, an hour and a half, I could find an hour and a half.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, man, is you've gotten to that place where you're able to, even in like the economy when a lot of people are having problems, like obviously you're an amazing artist, which helps a lot. But yeah, you've put your time into it and gotten better. And one of the first couple of times we talked about it, you still talked about like you have this amazing style. Your black and gray stuff is, it doesn't surprise me people are, waiting in line to like literally you booked out like 4 months or something right now for these giant pieces.
I've got like, especially like my project clients, like I tell them like, I tell clients right off the bat, like if you want like a sleeve, you want a back piece, you're booking 8 appointments.
Yeah.
Like no bones about it. Like you're going to do it if the project ends before those 8 appointments, we just cancel those. I just shovel those off and I get some days off and I'm cool with that. Yeah. But then that ends up getting filled with some other stuff. So like, it's not an issue, but I'm very clear about that with my clients right off the bat. Like if you tell me you want this thing, I need to know you're committed.
Yeah. And like when we started working together, I don't know, like 6 or 9 months ago or something like that, that was what you said is like, I only need like 3 clients a month. Yeah. That's it. Cause we only
That's all I want.
Yeah. And you get to pick and choose. Cause again, we have, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 people that contact you every week out of the ads are running for you, and you get to pick the ones you want.
The thing is that like, even with that, like there's a lot of stuff that, there's stuff that comes through there that like, I'm just like, I'm not going to do that tattoo. Yeah. But I do respond to every single person that fills out a consultation form. Cause like, I don't ever want, I don't know. I guess it's just like one of those things. I don't ever want to take things for granted that like even if something falls in my lap that I know I don't want to do, I'm still going to give it some form of attention. Because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have be that guy that just dismisses things too easily. Yeah. And so, at least be mindful and show the respect to these people that, that do reach out, that do like my work and stuff. Even if it's something I don't want to do, I'm going to at least give them that time of day and give them that respect. Because that's what I want to put out into the world. And and some of these people, like, they hit me back up, like, a month later and they're like, hey, I got this other idea though. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's run that.
Yeah. And that's like the best way to do it. Cause like, man, I've had this happen to myself more times than I can count. And I know most people who get tattoos have, where you send an artist their idea or you text them and you tell them their idea and then they just never hear back from them. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go fuck myself. Like, at least tell me you don't want to do it.
And I just, like I said, like, I just don't want that. I don't want that reputation, and I don't want, because people talk, like, and you never know who knows who or whatever, and, one of the, and so like, I don't want, like some like, random potential client, like, talking to somebody that filled out a consultation form. They're like, oh yeah, I filled out a consultation form with that guy and he fucking, he just blew me off. And, potential client could be like, oh, well, fuck, he's probably gonna do the same thing to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
we had that guy in town open up a shop, and within 18 months he had already gone out of business. And it wasn't because his work was bad, because it was fast. It was because, one, he was a kind of a dick, and two, but also had that same reputation of like, he just wouldn't respond to you. And I remember seeing him post on like Instagram one time, like, hey, who wants to come in for a new tattoo? And you had all these comments like, hey, you never finished mine. When are you going to book my next time? You're like, dude, like, yeah. Like, it's pretty quick. Yeah.
The tattoo artist, like, ghost routine.
Yeah, exactly. And it's real quick way to piss people off and get a bad reputation. So, and like, to your point, like, even if you don't want to do that tattoo, who says they're not going to come back? Or who says in the future, if you do hit a low spot, you can still reach out to all those people? If you ghost somebody, they're never, like, don't reach out to them in the future, but at least you respond. Like, if you get in a tight pinch, if something happens, like, you at least have this giant list of people that love your work that you can start a conversation with.
And that's the thing, is that, like, that client, like, all those people that, that fill out the forms from the ads that you guys run for me, those are people that like my work. Yeah. Like, they might not be asking me for the thing that I want to do, but that's people that like my work, which means I can hit them up, and, like, I could take all their emails, throw them into a MailChimp thing, and, I'd tag it. I'd probably tag it as, like, potential clients, and just go shoot them designs that I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, because, like I said, I already know they like my work. Like, there's no question about it. It's just, I don't want to do the thing they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I like, or I also want to talk about with you, is, like, I mean, you only do bigger work. You're not a cheap artist.
Yeah.
And you live in Vallejo, California, which isn't exactly like the ritziest part.
Dude, like, my client, so, like, I tattoo, I almost don't tattoo anyone that lives in Vallejo. Like, I get, like, maybe one client, like, and it's like, somebody that I tattooed for, like, years,
Yeah.
And, like, but no, I get a lot of my clients, they come from everywhere else in the Bay Area. And it's funny because, like, they'll pull up, and the first thing they come in the shop, they're like, is my car safe there? And I'm like, no, you're good. Like, there ain't no action in front of the shop. You're good. Yeah. And, and Vallejo I mean, depending on where you're coming from, it's not the easiest place to get to. Like, I mean, people here in the Bay Area, we don't like crossing the bridges and shit. Well, if you're coming from the East Bay, you're coming from the South Bay, you got to cross the fucking bridge to get to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a pain in the ass. So, like, Vallejo isn't a very convenient place, and the city's got a shit reputation.
Yeah.
Like, I got clients, like, after, they'll get out of the shop at, like, 6. They're like, where's a good place to eat? I was all like, go to Napa. Don't eat. Like, they're like, oh, I was thinking about getting a bite to eat in downtown. I was like, leave your car here in front of the shop and walk to downtown, or your shit's going to get broken into. It's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think I told you I grew up 40 minutes away from Vallejo, so very familiar with there. I always thought it was funny. So, coming from the North Bay, you had to pay to go into San Francisco, and you had to pay to get out of Oakland. It was like, that sounds about right.
And it's a pain in the ass. So, like people don't want to do that.
Yeah,
they're gonna try to find. A lot of times, people are gonna try to find somebody local. And I hear that a lot from my clients. They're like, I got clients from, like, Vacaville or, like, Santa Rosa or Berkeley or San Jose. And they're just, I mean, I got clients that come out from, like, Sacramento. I've got a couple clients coming out from, like, Lathrop and shit, like, which is out by, like, Stockton and shit. Like, they're driving, like, an hour to, like, maybe an hour and a half sometimes and stuff. And, they're telling me straight up, they're just like, we've checked out every tattoo shop within, like, 20 miles, and nobody's doing what we want.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, and then there's you, so we're coming to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, right on. Welcome to the hood.
No shit. Yeah, it really is. Really is.
They're like, oh, like, can I run to an ATM nearby? I'm like, no, don't do that. Just, like, use your credit card.
Yeah. You don't want to go downtown. Yeah, it's an interesting area. That's for sure. One of my friend's dads lived there, and so we used to go down, and when we were older, and go to like the bar with him, and where he'd always play pool, and there's all the pool sharks, and like, it was interesting. Like, yeah.
It's really an oddball town.
Yeah. So when you started out as an artist, I mean, I'm assuming you didn't hop like immediately into like black and gray realism stuff. Did you kind of?
No. No, I started off in Venice Beach, man. Like, I didn't even know how to draw when I first started tattooing. Like, I got into this, like, it was kind of it was definitely an accident. I was getting tattooed, I was done running the streets and stuff, and like, I was telling my homeboy that was tattooing me, like, hey man, like, yeah, I'm done with the dumb stuff. Like, he's like, well, what are you gonna do now? And he was tattooing me, and that shit was hurting. And I just started saying stupid shit when I get tattooed. And I was like, oh no, man, why don't you teach me how to do this? Seems easy enough. And he just kind of looked at me like this. Seriously? I'm like, yeah, man, you just like Tracy, right? And he just goes, come by tomorrow. And that's how I got into this.
Okay.
And so like, I didn't even know how to draw. And so like, and then I started off there in Venice Beach, where it's like, I mean, picking a tattoo, you just pick something off the wall and stuff. So like, once I started doing things and seeing things, like I went from being this, I mean, like truly like just ignorant ass, like street dude, to like being tossed into the world of tattooing, where like there's all this different kinds of art and, like all these things and shit. And like my mind was just blown. I thought everything was amazing. I mean, I thought the old David Bolt Flash was incredible, and like, I mean, that shit was horrible, but like I thought that shit was incredible. And then like I was seeing like like the Leo Zulueta like tribal stuff, and I thought that was cool. Like everything was just cool to me. So like, and then I was in Venice and I got to do everything, and so like that's kind of where I was. And then I bounced styles for years because everything was so fresh and new to me, and I had no background in art, that everything just interested me. And it happened that I landed on I landed on black and gray, because that's like once I dialed in black and gray naturally in LA, and then like I went to art college and really learned some stuff. And so like I remember there's times where like I strictly trying to be doing traditional Americana stuff, and clients would be like, oh, but I heard you do portraits, and I'm like, fuck, like, but I'm really just trying to do this, like, traditional Americana piece. Or like, there's a period of time where all I did was Japanese work, and, and it would almost be like a burden to do like a portrait.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, you know what? Like, I just need to give up. like this, this is what people want. I'm going to hone in. And especially like black and gray, like, I mean, I tell everybody, like, I don't want to do color because I'm lazy. I don't want to shake all the bottles. I don't like shake all the bottles.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie about that.
I have noticed, like, we work with obviously a ton of shops. We also work with a handful of individual artists, and the ones that are usually doing the best are the ones that specialize in one style, like geometric, black and gray, and they've just honed that skill over years, and so they become this sought out after artist. Almost all the time we see an artist that is completely like really sought after, can charge a lot. It is because they specialize in a certain style. So there's this, I guess, like both sides of the coin. Like if you're a generalist artist, like you can take in everything.
Yeah.
But you're probably not going to be as, and obviously this isn't the case for everybody. I mean, there's some amazing artists that will do any style. But you're probably not going to be that guy like yourself that can charge, say, hey, if you're going to work with me, it's going to be 8 sessions. You're going to spend at least, $6 to $10,000,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, definitely like, I mean, like I was talking to a friend of mine who does, he does everything. And, he was, and I was telling him, I was like, look, man, like, it's cool that, I mean, I feel like, I mean, it's important that tattoo artists are well-rounded. Like, I don't, like if you get into tattooing and you're like, I just only want to do this one thing, I still recommend studying and becoming proficient at everything under the sun, just because there are skill sets that transfer over from style to style, and there are concepts in the design work from style to style that you can take from one place to another. And so, like, I tell people, like, don't just jump in and hyper specialize. Like, get well-rounded, because that it just opens your brain up, And like, honestly, like, if I didn't have that, that well-roundedness where, like, I can draw traditional Americana and I can do accurate Japanese work and, like, I mean, even fucking tribal work, like, I don't think my black and gray work would be nearly as strong as it is. And because I do draw parallels from each of those styles into my work, and so, but yeah, no, I told my friend though, like, like, if you want to see a bit more, like more of like what you want in self-fulfillment, find something that just you really want to fucking do, and just pour your heart into it, and like, and just put it out there. Like, the worst thing that can happen is that people are like, I don't like it. It doesn't sink your career. It doesn't tank anything. But I also told him, I was like, you'd be surprised. Like, if you think it's cool, somebody else is going to think it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened with, like, my work is, like, a couple of years ago, I mean, I was just kind of doing, like, you're just bare bones standard California black and gray. Like, it looked good. It was, it was on point and stuff, but, like, you could throw a rock in any direction and hit 10 guys that did the same work. And I just was like, man, like, I didn't really feel like I had a voice and stuff. And so, like, I put together some designs that I like that they were like, like my dream designs, like, this is what I think tattoos should look like. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, damn, I really hope I'm not the only motherfucker that thinks these are cool, And I put them on Instagram, and I actually did a paid ad. And ended up doing each design. I had each design booked within like 4 days, and I put out like 4 or 5. I put out like 5 designs. And so that's when I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'm not the only person that thinks this shit's cool. And so I did it again, and then I did it again. And I was like, okay, cool. This is something that I can land on and feel that sense of fulfillment, that like artistic sense of fulfillment. Okay. And that's kind of like how I got, to where I'm at right now, where like people show up and they're like, yeah, I did that thing you do, just like do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like, I don't even know what to fucking call it. It just looks different from that guy and that guy and that guy's shit.
Yeah.
They're like, do your shit.
And I think that's a good point, that, starting off as a generalist is definitely the best way to go. And I didn't mean it wasn't, because again, like, if you're like, hey, I'm going to only do this style when you start, it's, in my opinion, like asking an 18-year-old what they want to do the rest of their life, and then they go to college, and then they never use that degree. Like, you don't know unless you have that experience. Like, yeah, man, I only want to do neo-trad, and then all of a sudden you fall in love with Japanese, but you wouldn't have known if you hadn't given it a try. And I'm I'm sure there's plenty of things you can take from every style and mix into another one, and that's what makes it your own style that's unique.
Yeah. Yeah, and like with what I do, like I've told people, like, I take ideas that I like concepts from like traditional Americana and Japanese work and incorporate them into my work. Like the way I layer my compositions, I try to have that sensibility that the Japanese artists had of having a sense of foreground, midground, background, and using that to dictate what you're supposed to look at and what is of most importance and stuff. Also, too, to have a flow, a certain flow on the body, and then from like traditional Americana, it's just like that mentality of like at every step of the process, this has to look right, So like traditional Americana work, like as an outline, it should be able to stand alone and look really good. Add the black shading, it should be able to stand alone and still look good. Add the color, it should stand, in the final product, it should look good. So when I do my work, if I lay all my solid black and my dark shadows in, and it looks fucking weak, like fucked up, I have not been successful. And so, like I said, at every stage of my process, like it has to look right. And that's like something that I took away from traditional Americana.
One thing I remember you saying to me when in the last couple of months as we were talking about your style, it might have been at the Evergreen, I can't remember, but you were saying like, this probably isn't the final form. Like it's still evolving. Like you have this amazing style, but the fact that you're still trying to make it better and make changes and try things, I think that would probably have something to do with why you've become such a good artist is, it can always be better. It can always be different.
The work's never done. Yeah, no, the work's never done. Like, I mean, honestly, like since Evergreen, Evergreen was really this year's Evergreen was really big for me because like it opened my eyes to certain things. Like, I mean, I was judging the contest and seeing some like really fucking cool stuff and, and just kind of like looking around and seeing, some people that I hadn't seen at Evergreen before, like, checking out their work. And it like really got me thinking about stuff and having a couple like really, really great conversations with guys, that like, I was like, I need to like take another step in my, like my wannabe stuff and like the stuff that I want to put out there. And, typically I'll do like at least three or four new, like wanna do designs a month. I haven't done one since because I've been researching, so like, I think after Evergreen, like I started reading, I just started definitely doing research into like, Rococo and Baroque painting and stuff. And then also reading about the Bauhaus, like contemporary art and whatnot. So like right now I'm like kind of like in a big research phase where I'm not putting anything down, like images down that I want to do right now. Like I'm kind of collecting images and trying to create designs that have a little bit more intent.
Got it.
And stuff, and have a little bit more mindfulness. And so like that's kind of where I'm at now. But like, yeah, I tell everybody, like, I've been tattooing since 2000. I've been tattooing since 2001, and I have to work harder now than I ever have in my career. Like, I mean, on all fronts, like design work, tattoo wise, like, marketing, managing my money, all that stuff. Like I have to work harder than I ever have. And I don't see that letting up ever. I'm just gonna feel that pressure constantly. Cause, a lot of tattoo artists, unfortunately, I've seen amazing guys, like dudes that were like legends in their area, like, in their regions. I've seen them turn to like, just fall off into the distance. Mm-hmm. And become a like, oh shit, I didn't even know that guy was still alive. They became that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen.
And I don't think if you're doing it right, that pressure and that stress kind of ever goes away. That's just part of like owning your own business and doing your own thing and trying to be better. It's funny, I had a conversation with one of my mentors about a month ago, and she does phenomenally well. Like I aspire to do what she's doing in her life because amazing person, amazing business person, and I was talking to her about, because I was having a bit of a mental breakdown. I was like, do you ever go through these? She's like, oh yeah, 3-4 times a year I spend like a day in bed crying. And I'm like, oh, that makes me feel better. Like if you're trying to do better and you're pushing yourself, like it's a lot and it doesn't go away. But again, you get to the point where you get to pick the kind of work you want to do, or you open a successful shop that like continuing to grow is a common theme that I see in the successful shop owners and successful artists that I talk to that are amazing. Like they never stop learning. They never stop trying to improve. And then you see the artist that looks worse after 20 years than, somebody fresh out of art school, and they're just kind of go in every day and that's it.
Yeah, and and truthfully, like when you look at like what's happening now with tattooing, is that a lot of those cats that like got into tattooing through the COVID time, that like I said, they got in, they fucking made a bunch of money, and they did well and stuff, but now they're slow as molasses and stuff. A lot, and even artists that have been around for a while, like like COVID was great. And then post COVID, like immediately was like pretty cool and stuff. But like, if you look at the common factor like across the board with those cats. I mean, not trying to be a dick, but they all plateaued. You know, like they made enough money. That's the problem. Like they, you know, for a few years, they made enough money and they stopped pushing.
Yeah.
And now hurting because they don't need, you know, people aren't seeking them out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because, you know, like because the people that did progress and did get better at whatever it is they're doing, they're being sought out. You know, so like I said, that's one thing, you know, that complacency that artists have. They're like, oh shit, I'm making a ton of dough. Like I'm going to start blowing off clients. I'm taking extra days off, you know, like I'm not going to draw as much anymore and stuff. Like those guys are the ones plateauing. Like like I said, I'm not trying to be a dick, you know, like, I mean, if it hurts some feelings, like, you know, like nothing personal, but you know, work, you know, you gotta do the work.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was having, I think it was yesterday, I was talking to actually a shop owner that ended up coming aboard and working with us, but he's like, we had all these new artists come in, or I think he had 4 or 5 when COVID started, and they got used to like not having to do anything and just having people come in 2022. But now they're doing the same thing, but the people aren't coming in, but there's no like initiative to go out and like even if you work at a shop, there's a million things you can do to like get yourself more clients. Cause at the end of the day, like that's what makes you money. Like build your own client base. That's huge.
And it's also important to venture outside of your comfort zone. You know, like, I mean, I've always been the antisocial. I've always been the anti-social media person. Like, I mean, shit. I remember, like, when like Instagram first came out, thinking like, this shit ain't gonna go nowhere. Like, who cares? You know, like, horribly wrong. Snapchat happened. Oh, like, who the fuck? Like, it got all that. Like, dude, I was the naysayer on all of that. You know, and then I was even the naysayer on paid advertising for a long time. And, you know, but like I said, like I hit this point where like all my work was looking the same, you know, my work had plateaued and, you know, my business had plateaued. And like I said, I was making enough money, but like, and I was, you know, and like, you know, I mean, tattoo wise, like, you know, maybe like once a week I was doing something I'd be excited about, you know, and it's so like I realized that's when I realized that like I have to get over myself and step outside and do something I hadn't done, and that's when I started doing paid advertising, and then once that I was like, oh shit, like this is like really panning out because not only am I getting paid really well, but I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then I made my website, and then I paid for Google Ads, and that was like great. That was really cool. You know, and then my next step after that was hiring you, and like that's been really cool. Like, and that's you know, like I'm you know, like I said, like I gotta filter through the people I fill out the consultation form, but man, I get some fucking great clients out of it.
Yeah,
you know, and you know, so like I said, you just gotta step outside of that box, you know, and also not be afraid to spend the money. Like, you know, like I remember telling, you know, like it. You know, at the beginning, when I first started doing paid ads, I think I put like maybe like $100 behind a paid ad, and I would get $4,000 in return in work. Now, like, you know, now it's crazy because like, you know, like, I mean, I think my advertising budget right now, my advertising budget now is kind of high. I think I spend like $1,500 a month, but like, not only am I getting new clients, but I'm getting clients that come back and back and back and back. So it's like, you know, so like, you know, like with, you know, the clients that I get from you guys, right? You know, the 2 or 3 people that I get, new clients that I get a month, not all, you know, like their first appointment is going to be, you know, somewhere between $800 to $1,200, but then they have an appointment 2 weeks later. And then they've got another appointment 2 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that for the next couple months.
Yeah.
You know, so the lifetime of this, of each client that I get. So like, you know, is, you know, I mean, it's anywhere between like $5 to $10,000.
That's awesome.
And shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lifetime of the clients that I get from you guys, you know, like, and that's, you know, that's what I tell people, like, you gotta, you know, don't just jump and do everything, you know, like, you can pick and choose. And like I say, if you have like a month where like something doesn't pan out, who the fuck cares? Write it off.
Yeah.
you know, write it off, be smart with your money. You know, like if, you know, you get to the end of the month and shit and you're like, I don't have money for advertise for next month. You fuck your money off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. No, and that's something we've seen, like, for a long time, we didn't take on just single artists because we had some bad experiences where, like, we had one down in Vegas. He got 26 calls in the first month. Like, it worked phenomenally. We could hear him picking him up and him setting appointments. And then the next month he couldn't pay it, like the fee to work with us. I was like, what did you do with all the money? Like, you're just, you know, what happened? So you should be able to, I mean, anything that's like the first thing someone should do if advertising is working for them, that first like appointment or 2 appointments, that money should be set aside for next month for marketing again, because you know it works, and then the rest of it you could, you know, do whatever you want with.
Yeah, you do whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, the marketing stuff doesn't cost, I mean, in the scheme of things, it doesn't cost much.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not a huge deal. You can take, like, I mean, I can take 50% off of, like, you know, 50% of what I make off three clients, and that covers my marketing budget. You know, and that's not a huge deal.
And that's like the first session. That's the thing too, is knowing, and I would preach this, but almost nobody knows the lifetime value of a client. So they'll see the first appointment, but they don't know past that. And that's like a huge number to know. Cause like you said, you know, you're getting to cherry pick your clients, the best ones you want to do. You're getting, let's say, 3 a month. They're $5,000 to $10,000 over the lifetime. So you're spending $1,000 to, over the lifetime of these 3 clients, make $15,000 to $30,000. Like, I'll do that every day. You know,
it's a no brainer.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, I definitely feel that, like I said, like, the money management's always been a hard thing for tattoo artists. Like, as I say, you get paid every day. You know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have a good day, you know, you might go blow like $200, you know, taking your old lady out to dinner or something, or you might go buy some whatever the fuck thing, you know, like, so like, you gotta, like, you know, like, you gotta have some kind of financial discipline. So like, I mean, like me, like, right off the bat, every single day, I take 30% of what I made that day, and I put that into an account for my taxes.
That's good.
You know? And then, you know, like, after, like, all deductions and all that stuff, when I do my taxes and stuff, like, I end up not tapping into all that money. Mm-hmm. And then I got my own little, like, you know, I got my own tax return pretty much.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, I mean, that's the way to do it is, and I mean, there's a handful of softwares out that obviously it doesn't work if you do cash, but like, that's what I do. Cause I'm the same way, man. I'll, or I used to be really bad with money, a lot better now, but when, and I get, like, also paid every day because I own the business. And when so when something like a deposit comes in, like this software that I have, it's like $20 a month, but it will send it to these different accounts automatically, like tax account, business account, my personal account. But that way it's like,
you got to text me what that is.
I will.
I'm that manually. I'm horrible with it.
It's so awesome, man, because like I don't even like look at the other accounts, like I don't mess with them. Just whatever comes to my personal is my money, and like even my savings and stuff that goes into stocks and stuff like that is all done automatically, and I just
text me later.
Yeah, I will. It's a game changer.
I need that. I need some automation in my life, man. Like, and I tell people, like, you know, make use of different apps, programs, you know. Pay people, you know, like whenever I hear tattoo artists, they're like, oh yeah, I don't, you know, like I just TurboTax my shit. I'm all like, yo, TurboTax, 1 year TurboTax told me I owed the IRS $15,000. I said, fuck that number. I paid an accountant $500 and she got it down to $7,000. Like,
it's huge. Yeah.
Go pay somebody smarter. It's fine. It's worth the money, you know, and like, and truth be told, like I mean, even like on like, the taxing or even the marketing thing, man, like pay somebody, like, you know, because, you know, like when I was doing all my own advertising, it took a few hours, you know, a month and whatnot. And then I was looking, I was like, well, my hourly rate is $200 an hour and shit. And I was like, and it's taking me more than 2 hours to do this. Why don't I pay somebody else to do it? You know?
If you can hire somebody for less than your hourly worth, do that. Go tattoo, and that time you're going to make more money. It seems like a no-brainer, but people don't want to like hire a tax person or a front desk person. Then they try to do it themselves. And like, you can be paying this person like $18 an hour to watch your phones. Instead, you're missing out on one client, and two, your time to tattoo. You're making so much more.
Yeah, exactly. And once you got all those ducks in line, like, you will get more work.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, plain and simple, you'll get more work.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing it all yourself, you're one person with your attention divided. You pay somebody, their attention is entirely on that task.
Yeah.
And so they're going to do it more efficiently than you do, which is going to generate more clientele.
100%, man. And that's, I think it was actually the podcast last week I was talking about that. Like, if you're spending over like $1,000 a month in marketing, hire a company, because that's all they do. Like, they know, they should know at least all the tricks of the trade, how to get your ideal clients and stuff like that. Like, it's at that point, you're losing out on clients and money trying to do it yourself. Unless you want to spend all the time learning Google Ads in expert mode and learning the ads manager, like outside of boosting posts, which is where all the power is in the ads manager. Hire somebody to do it.
Even when I started out with you, like, you were showing me some, you did a screen share with me where you're like, well, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And I was like, I can figure this all out myself, but I don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to take
it.
Like, plain and simple. Like, I'd rather pay you to do it, because I don't want to take the time to learn that shit, troubleshoot it. Like, you've already figured it out. Like, why the hell am I going to spend my time on that? I can spend that time. I spend that time with my kid. I can spend that time designing stuff. I can spend that time tattooing, whatever the hell it is I want, and stuff. In the grand scheme of it, it's really not that much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you write it all off. Like,
yep. I don't think a lot of people know that you can write off your advertising budget. So that's good info. Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. We had a shop hire us about a month ago to just teach them how to run Instagram ads, made this whole presentation. We did it for them, like how it should be run, like the best way, the way that we do it for shops. Yeah. They call us the next day, like, nobody here wants to do that. Can we just hire you? I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Because it is a pain in the ass. And, like what I like is that, like, you check in with me every month and stuff, and you're like, okay, like, what's working, what's not working, like, how are things on your end? And like, I'll tell you, like, hey, how about we try this, or how about we do that, or how about we narrow this down, or whatever and stuff. And like, I can just dictate it to you and you just do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't got to sit there and be a keyboard jockey for a while and stuff. Like, I can, like, I put that in your lap, and then, I go make breakfast with my son,
Yeah. And I can tell you, the shops and artists that work with us that are the most successful are the ones that show up to their monthly meetings and give us feedback. Because there's a million different things you can do in marketing. Like, there's a million things you can do in Google advertising, on the landing pages. And getting that feedback is like, we can make so many changes. We just need to know what's going on your end. And some shops aren't great about that.
Yeah. It's like the way, I was trying to, when I was telling, some guys at Evergreen about you, I tell them, like, at first, you cast like a wide net, and then you start narrowing things down. And then it's just going to get to a point where, like, you're no longer casting a net. You're there with fucking sonar and a fucking spear gun and shit, you know? And that cost per click goes down and stuff, like, and that's just what it is. It's a lot of experimenting. I've even before I had you guys, like, I'd always done Instagram advertising, and I'd told, guys be like, oh, I'm going to try it out. And then I'll check in with them, like, later, like, hey man, how'd that thing go? And they're like, oh, it didn't do so well. I'm like, okay, well, like, tell me, like, how you did it. And they're like, well, I did this post, and, I just targeted the area. And I was like, did you target specific age ranges? Did you target specific interests, all that stuff? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, you got to do that.
Yeah.
You got to narrow down the net, because, some like 68-year-old lady that has Instagram so she can see her grandkids doesn't need to see her tattoo shit.
Yeah. She's not coming in. She's not coming in.
Well, at least narrow the age range down. And I look at the analytics of things, like Google Analytics and Instagram Analytics and whatnot, and I look, where, what areas are people looking at my stuff, and like, Instagram will tell you the age ranges, and breakdowns of like, who's looking at your stuff. So if you notice, like, age range 25 to 36, like that's who's really looking at your shit. But like from like 42 to 55, they're not really messing with you. Then narrow that age range down.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Even paying attention to the times that people are looking at your stuff. Like oddly enough, like I've just realized, I've noticed for Instagram, my paid ads do better Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's it. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when people are at work, pissed off at their job and need something to look forward to, those people book appointments.
Yeah.
Like those people are daydreaming, and they're like, fuck this place, I need to do some cool shit, and stuff. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, people are just trying to get fucked up or whatever, or try to see what chick they're gonna, fucking creep out on Instagram trying to get a date, whatever, but it is like,
yeah,
like they ain't serious, they ain't doing that. But no, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I paid attention to that. So when I would run paid ads, I would run it. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, pause, because you can pause the ad.
Yeah.
And then, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, resume the ad and stuff. So I'm only paying for the time that I know that I'm going to get people.
And there's even a thing now where you can go in there and you can schedule it so you don't have to turn it off and turn it on manually. It will actually just do it for you. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, there's a million little tricks. There's a million little tricks.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I need to pay attention to that.
there's the analytics are like what we geek out on. Cause again, like you said, if you're showing it to a 67-year-old lady that just got out of church, she's probably not coming in for a tattoo.
No.
Meta and Google know like a creepy amount about us. So use that to your advantage. I mean, it knows people that are interested in tattoos. You can even go in there and narrow it down by how much people make, like within the zip code that they're in. And that's like, if you're getting a problem with people just asking for price or ghosting you, go in there and make it like, hey, only the top 50% of income earners can see our ads.
Yeah.
That's going to knock that down so much.
Yeah. And like, that's, that's a huge tool. Like it's crazy. Cause like I noticed, like I was talking to somebody the other day that like my clientele has drastically shifted over the last couple years. Like, like, I mean, like when I first started out in Vallejo, like, dude, like when I first started out in Vallejo, like 7 years ago, I knew everything that was happening on the street before it happened. Cause I was tattooing every dope dealer, fucking gangbanger, fucking like dude running the street, dudes that were robbing folks and stuff. Like I was tattooing all those cats.
Yeah.
And shit. Now now I don't even know what the hell's going on. Like I gotta go onto like a Facebook group to find out what's happening in town, because I'm like so out of tune with that, because now all my clients are coming from outside of Vallejo, and I get a lot of it's crazy. I get a lot of clients now that they're like they're like early to mid 40s. They're getting their first tattoo and they want to fucking sleep.
Yeah.
And they work, like I got one client, was it last week? One of the people that I'd gotten from you guys, he's a criminal defense attorney in Oakland. He's 42 years old, getting his first tattoo, fucking half sleeve, I've got one client, he's a industrial engineer for BMW. I've got a couple clients that work in a lab that does research for cancer cancer meds and shit, like, and it's funny because a lot of these cats, first tattoo, want like, like I want a back piece, I want a sleeve, like I waited my whole, like so long and stuff. So like, yeah, like that targeting stuff, like it does. I mean, I'm about to tell you, like, hey, go target people that like, like science.
Yeah.
Let's get these nerds that like have always wanted to get tattooed. They didn't know who to go to. They don't even got a friend in the world to ask, where do I get tattooed?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. The people are out there. The people with the money that want expensive tattoos are out there in every single city. It's just making sure you're the person showing up in front of them when they're trying to get one done. Like another really good targeting option that we'll use sometimes is people that have an American Express card, because typically that's a business owner.
Yeah, business owner.
Yeah.
Or somebody with an expense account.
Exactly. Yes. So there's so many ways to do that.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I tell people like, I mean, I could go and deep dive this shit and figure it out, but I don't want to spend that time. I'm not trying to do all that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Who want that? Like, it's like, you always you pay the smarter guy in the room.
No.
Heads up, do that and you'll be fine. And like I said, I would definitely say from like November to like now, I have probably had let's say these last 6 months has been the busiest 6 months of my career.
Nice.
Hands down. When I'm hearing about cats like having a hard time, I feel bad. Like they're like, well, how far are you booked out? I'm like, damn, I feel bad like saying this shit because like it's good, Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, man, you've put in the time and you've put in the work and you have this like specialized talent and people are willing to pay and wait for that. Again, man, I remember first time I looked at your work, I was like, holy shit. Like,
oh yeah.
I was amazed you weren't as booked out as I thought in Vallejo. I know you were up in Portland, but I'm glad that's changed because, man, again, I mean, just honing your craft, putting the time in, the work in, knowing that like the best people in, any industry are the ones that continue trying to be better like every single day, even if it's just 1%. And like, it's not all about the art. I mean, a ton of it is obviously, but it's your demeanor, your bedside manner. Like, I don't care how good of an artist you are. If you're an asshole when I'm in the chair, like I'm not.
Yeah, you got
coming back.
Cool,
Yeah.
And I tell and that, like I said, that's why I say like everybody that fills out an appointment form, a consultation form, I respond to, and I give everybody the time of day. I entertain every single question.
Yeah.
Like all my clients too. Like I tell them, like my job doesn't end when you walk out after you pay and you walk out. Like through the aftercare and the healing process, you have any questions, get hold of me. Like this matters to me. Yeah. It's that care and attention. It's like I definitely feel like one of the problems that a lot of older tattoo artists are having with things now is that they feel like there's no more personal like attention going into tattooing. Like they're like, I hear then, oh, everything's Instagram and everything's blah blah, and like like it feels so fake. And I'm like, okay, but you don't have to make it fake.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? Like you can still utilize all these tools that are at your disposal and still connect personally with your clients and give them the attention and treat them like people. Like you can still do that and use all these things.
Yeah, they're just tools. They're meant to make your life easier. They're not meant to take away the experience or anything like that. And it's where the industry, one, has gone, and two, will continue going. Is more, when I first got tattooed, it was a street shop. Like there wasn't like websites you could go look at. There wasn't Google Maps, stuff like that. You just knew the shop you went in. It's just not like that anymore. It's never going to go back to that. So again, the people, the artists I know that are the busiest, one, are obviously talented artists, but two, have good personalities and like are happy to talk to people. And, a lot of times tattoo artists are like, hey, well, that's just not my personality. I'm like, well, I'm not an outgoing person. Like typically I would rather like, I want to be home on a weekend. I don't want to go out. Like I'm not a super conversational person, but like I got good at it for my job. This is not what I'm like outside of it, but
I'm super antisocial. Like, it's funny. I was talking to one of my homeboys the other day, and I was like, I was talking to Ricardo, and he was telling me about the AI bots that he was going to try out with you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I need that. Cause I was like, dude, I'm not really social. Like it's sometimes hard to talk to these clients. And he's like, dude, everybody likes talking to you.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm horribly antisocial. Like I'm the most predictable person. I am either at the shop or I'm at home. Like, I'm not doing anything in between. I'm not going out. I'm not like striking up. Like, like, I mean, like, when I would go work out at the gym, like, I'd make sure I had a hoodie on with the hood on because I didn't want people to talk to me, about like tattoos and shit. Because people would spot me. They're like, oh, you're that tattoo guy. And then all of a sudden they want to talk. And I'm like, man, like, no, like, I'm kind of weird if I'm not in a tattoo shop. Yeah. If you're a tattoo shop, I'm good. Like, I'm that's my comfort zone. But outside of that, nah, man, I'm not doing all that.
Yeah, and then exactly, man. It's not even if you're kind of an antisocial kind of an introvert, you can be different at work. Like and that is typically more beneficial. Again, it's not changing your character. You don't have to pretend to do it. Like no, like I love doing these conversations. Like they're fun. 5 years ago, I would never have done this. I'd be like, oh God.
For sure. And like, and I definitely tell people like, even though I'm antisocial, like I still do, like, I don't feel like I'm stepping out of my character being social with people in the tattoo setting because that's my comfort zone and stuff. And also too, I'm not sitting there talking about shit that I don't want to talk about. Like, I'll steer the conversation to what I want to talk about.
Yep.
So it's not, it's not like I'm out there, I tell people I'm not out there like being fake or nothing. I'm just, it's easier for me to steer things in the direction I want when I'm in my own setting.
Yeah.
But like I said, you gotta, I mean, even if you don't want to though, you gotta show people that kindness. You gotta show them that respect and stuff. Like, like, I don't know, like I feel a lot of tattoo artists have that feeling that their clients are the lucky ones and shit. Okay. And like me, I still feel like, I mean, I feel like I'm blessed when somebody sits in my chair, like I'm grateful to that person, like I tell every client, like, like I really enjoyed working with you, like this wasn't just like a me thing and stuff, they had to put in that work of trusting me. I appreciate that,
Yeah. And that's huge, man. And, for an artist, it's just another day at work. For the customer, like, this is something they're trusting you to put on your body for the rest of their life. Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge,
it means something to them. It's something they got to look at, like, so you gotta show them that respect, for like, it's like, hey, I got paid, I got paid because you like this thing I do, but you trusted me with something that's going to imprint your life. Like, that's beautiful. Like, that's something that you show respect to.
Yeah. 100%, man. 100%. It makes a big difference. There's, I feel like a lot of focus on how am I going to eat tomorrow? Like, how am I going to book out tomorrow? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the people that do the best are the ones that are thinking like 2 years from now, like what's going to happen? Like you said, just responding to those people, even if you don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you one of them will tell their friends or they'll come back later. Like, you don't want to play the short game. You want to play the long game if you want to do this for a long time and understand how much stuff snowballs when you give it a long enough time horizon. Like, stuff you're doing today is going to affect you in 5 years, if you're still tattooing.
Dude, I mean, it's all about taking strides you're right, dude. It's about taking strides every single day. Like, like, I mean, like I was talking to somebody the other day about like, like my son's 5, right? And every month since the day he was born, I've put aside anywhere between $200 to $500 a month into a safe for him and stuff. My kid now my kid's got a fat stack of cash. I mean, you projected out, like, let's say, like, I mean, he's got, I'm going to screw up the math, but I mean, the kid's got almost like 15K.
Yeah.
And shit, he's 5 years old and shit. And those small little chunks every single day, I mean, every single week, every single month, like, those chunks add up and stuff. And it's the same thing in tattooing and business is that like you got to stay on schedule. Like, even if you're feeling full, still take bites.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or tuck something aside, like do something, like, because you might have that real just bad time or whatever, and you've got something squirreled away. You've got things in your pocket, clients you can hit up that, you can get in a pinch. Like you have to, it's taking those steps like constantly. It's a discipline that people need to have to have that success.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, man, it's the long game, and it's not thought about long enough. But man, if you can improve just a little bit every month, and I mean, some months you might not, but if you're trying to enough over the long game, and it can be in your actual art, it can be in your table or your bedside manner, I guess chairside manner. There's in business, in marketing, like there's a million different things to learn of, and even if you just learn a little bit of each when it comes to like the business and marketing, that will still put you ahead of 95% of shop owners and tattooers. Like there's a fairly low bar to entry right now, at least as far as the business side goes. Like shops that we work with that have like multiple locations or that have, 10, 15 artists, like the owners know the business side of it, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. So